Hello everyone, my name is Kate Marshall. The name of my channel is called Inked Paper Art, and today we're going to make some journal cards out of doilies. I know usually we sew doilies into our junk journal as like a fun interactive element, but today we're going to make journal cards out of them. So let's go ahead and get started. For supplies, if you have any of the cheap thin paper doilies that you can get like at the dollar store, the craft store, online, sometimes I have packs of them available. But anyway, the thin little paper doilies, these are not like lacy doilies. These are thin paper lace doilies. So we're going to use those. We're going to do some stamping. And so I pulled out some of Tim Holtz stamps. This one is called French Marketplace. Obviously, I love that one. I'm going to be stamping in scorched timber distress ink, not an oxide, but a distressed ink. And then I just have some other decorating bits to assemble a pocket when we're done. And then underneath all of this, I have some craft packing paper. That's what we're going to do first. So basically, we're going to make these into journal cards. And right now you can see that there's not really any way to journal on something like this. And so the only way that we can journal on it is by adhering it to something like this. And so we're going to stick these down. And I also have these fun little heart ones, and we're going to make a couple of these. So let's go ahead and let's do a couple of things at once. Let's stamp some fun details onto these guys. Want to make sure I only have one of them. Let's do two of each style so that we can get through this. It's a pretty fast make. Most of us have these paper doilies. So we're going to stamp on anything that has a white inside. You might have a circle doily that has a white inside. We're going to stamp on those. You can also stamp on the outside of these ones. However, for these ones, I'll probably do a little stamping on the inside and not stamp on the outside. Let's go ahead and stamp very quickly. The other two, the two with the white in the inside, that's where I'm going to focus my stamping. And for those two, like, you know, these stamps are so beautiful, but I'm going to go for this little scripty one here. And you could just stamp with your hand. Honestly, you don't even need a block. If you want a block, use a block. I'm just going to stamp with my hand. I feel like that'll work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up this stamp. I like to kind of rub it and then kind of tap it. The tapping puts the ink right onto the surface of the stamp. The rubbing just makes sure we get some on there. And I'm not looking for a perfect stamp. I'm just looking for bits and pieces to kind of be pushed on there. Something like that looks pretty good. And then we're just going to do a little over stamping. That looks great. Let's do it one more time quick. I'm going to aim for more of the middle of the stamp this time. And so we're going to get that little bit there at the top. I moved it, so that's what it is. And it's not going to matter in a minute anyway. What I would like to do though is get some of this little over stamp with the Paris and the little postage stamp here. Let's do that quick. So for that one, it's a smaller stamp. And we're just going to get what we get with that one. Right, kind of messily across the front. Perfect. Love it. Just giving ourselves a little collage look, especially because my stamping was not perfect. Let's do it this way this time. And let's go down at the bottom. There we go. Okay, so our stamping for these is done. Really, I just did simple little collage stamping. I'll hold it up quick so that you can see, but it's just a little background with a little postal cancel over it. Very simple. You can stamp whatever you want. If you want to stamp an image, stamp an image. So let's glue these down. Now, gluing doilies has been difficult in the past for some people. This way is going to be very, very simple. Here's how we're going to do it. You're going to take your little doilies, or do the big ones first so we can get them on there. And I'm just using packing paper. You can see it's kind of a thin, flimsy paper. We're just going to approximate where our doily is, and we're going to glue it just like that. If you glue over the edge, it's fine. We're going to cut these out here in just a second anyway. And they're going to make super cute journaling cards. So I'm going really big here, hoping I'm getting it all. That's pretty good. I think we've got that one where I can place it and then just rub over the top of it just gently to get it all stuck in there. The more you press down, the more that's going to stick good. So that's good for that guy. Let's do one more. You can make a number of these very quickly. Now, some people can run doilies through their printer if they attach the doily to something like a handmade carrier sheet. A carrier sheet is made so that it will carry whatever you're trying to print on through your printer. Not everyone has a printer that likes printing on thin things such as doilies. So if you want to make a carrier sheet so that you can print an image or like a patterned wallpaper or something like that on your doily, what you do is you take a piece of cardstock and you attach your doily to it either with a removable adhesive spray. That's like a temporary removable adhesive spray. I don't like doing that because it's kind of like putting a sticky substance in your printer. But if you're going to do that method, make sure you spray the doily and not the cardstock. So spray the doily, stick it down to the cardstock, and then run the cardstock with the doily on it through your printer. That's a carrier sheet. It's just carrying that doily into your printer. And so we're going to glue these ones down, and I'll talk to you about other methods for printing on doilies. It's not really a video about printing on doilies, but it's worth mentioning because we're kind of doing something that might, you might think, oh, gee, I wish I could print on a doily. Well, the other methods for printing on doilies are you can use like a repositionable double-sided tape and just stick it down underneath your doily and hope that that works okay for you. It depends on the kind of printer you have. If you have an inkjet printer that has to go back and forth, it might catch on the edge of your doily. And so you do want to make sure that you're doing something that's safe for your printer. So if you're using a laser printer, you could use double-sided tape, but the inkjet kind is a little harder, right? And so the way that I like to do them through the inkjet printer is I like to use something like, let's see, we could use a glue stick to lightly go around the edge of it and then peel it off before that glue stick dries. I usually will do something like a freezer paper where you iron your doily to freezer paper, and then put that freezer paper through the printer to print on. And then your doily will peel off that freezer printer paper, and it will have a little a little freezer printer residue on the backside, but it doesn't matter. It just kind of stiffens up your doily. So my preferred method is to take a piece of freezer paper, iron your doily to it, and then cut that piece of freezer paper, if you haven't already, to the 8.5 by 11 paper size, and run that through your printer so that your printer can print on the doily. It's completely stuck on all the little tiny bits and pieces, because that freezer paper, if you have never done this, if you iron, and you have to have freezer paper, it doesn't work with parchment paper, those are different animals. But if you iron a paper to freezer paper, it sticks to it, and it also allows you to peel it back off later. Because freezer paper has kind of a waxy, it's not wax, but some kind of coating on it that allows you to iron things to and also remove from the paper backing. So try freezer paper if you want to run them through inkjet printer or laser. It works both ways. Okay, so we're going to let these dry for just a second. I think our hearts are probably fine. We'll let these little guys down here dry for a minute. Just going to roughly cut them out. Now, all of this little bit around the edge, I'm just going to go, kind of wiggly with my scissors. I'm not going to worry about cutting it exact. I'm just going to wiggle and get that edge like that. You should let them dry a little bit more than I have here, just to keep it from sticking to your scissors. I'm just wiggling the scissors in and out of those scallops. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. And then if you want to go back through later and do some adjusting or something like that, that's fine. But you'll see that even with the scallopy edge, it's fairly quick to cut out. It's not really stuck there, but we're going to stick it. These are still fairly wet. Much easier when they're dry. But printing on doilies can be fun because then you can tailor your doily. Even if you're just sewing it into the signature, you could tailor it to your theme or your color palette. You could, do like some kind of digital that goes with the digital kit that you're using and do it that way. So yeah, my scissors are definitely wanting to stick, but we're going to fight through it. And there we go. We have one done. So that's that one. Let that dry a little more before we move further. Pretty wet there. And then I'm going to cut this one out. Now you could have done this same thing and ironed it to freezer paper and then removed it. That would have worked for this project, except for you wouldn't have journaling space on the other side. So I wanted journaling space on the back side to make these into journal cards. They're not really journal cards at the moment, but they will be here shortly. They get them all cut out. I hope you guys are having, let's see, when is this video airing? This video is airing on Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a great start to your week. I'm filming this on Sunday, so I haven't made it to Monday yet. I will be having a live sale on Tuesday for those of you that care. And then let's see what else. We're going to start another Facebook group challenge. And so if you're a member of the Facebook group, all of my links are linked in the description box. But if you're a member of the Facebook group, you can join the challenge. The challenge is just posting a picture of something that you made. And every time you do that, you enter yourself to win a $50 Amazon gift card. And my Facebook group is called Junk Journal Makers. It's for all junk journal makers. All skill levels are in there. If you go in the Facebook group, you're going to see that there are some very experienced junk journal makers in there. The top names in the industry joined that Facebook group. It's for all junk journal makers. And basically, we have, very experienced people and we have beginners. And so everybody is in there and they're posting what they make and they're all entering to win the giveaway. And then at the end of the month, I choose, draw a winner from all of the entries. So basically, as long as your post is a photo of something that you handmade and it's junk journal related, that qualifies as an entry for the challenge. And so I'm fighting my way through this sticky paper. If you let them dry, they will be much easier to cut out. But, we've got to get the videos done. So we're cutting. I really like this method for making cute little doily journal cards. They're just fun little things to tuck into pockets, and they're unexpected, right? Because everyone knows you could sew a journal, sew a doily into the signature of a journal, but very few people think to go ahead and put it into a pocket as a journal card because it's so flimsy, right? The thin little paper doilies. They're super flimsy. They're meant to be tossed away, which really is the meaning of ephemera. Literally, because people ask all the time. So, ephemera, while we use it to, mean tags and journal cards and things like that, really the definition of ephemera is something that was made to be tossed away. It was never meant to be kept, such as like a movie ticket stub or something like that, where, it's ephemera, but it was never intended to be kept forever. It was never intended to be saved. It was something that was meant to be tossed out and thrown away. Okay, so here's what we have right now. Yes, I could go in and clean up some of the edges of my doilies, and I will probably do that once they're dry. But I'm just going to make sure that all of the edges are stuck down and into that glue, and they are. They look pretty good. Okay, so here's the next part. For these little guys, I want to stamp something in here just so that they're not plain, right? So I'm going to stamp a little something back there. Let's go ahead and stamp the little postage stamp. I don't want anything too big because I do want them to be able to be journaled on. So let's go ahead and stamp a little bit. And I don't want it super dark. I really just want like a hint of it. And we'll kind of do it down here at the bottom. Perfect. Just a little hint of it. And then we'll do down here. We'll go that way. So that's just giving it some decoration because we didn't get to stamp on the front side of these two. Now these two, once they're dry, they're going to be a little stiffer than they are now. And they are going to go right into the junk journal pocket just as they are. You're just going to see it layered up in there. In fact, if we pretend that this was our junk journal page, which I always pretend this is, and maybe we have something like a pocket that's about that shape anyway. We'll tuck some ephemera in there, right? We'll have whatever ephemera we have. And then maybe we'll put our little junk journal doily journaling card in there as well. So you would have your little doily and you'd have your little pocket. Goodness, everything is sticking to my gluey fingers. So it would just go in as a journal card like that. They would pull it out. They would journal on the back of it. Perfect. Okay. So that's the two little ones. And you'll notice that these ones are really big. And so, you know, if you had a giant journal, you could stick them in a pocket like that. But here's how I use the heart ones. And I think it's really cute to just fold them in half, just like that, right? And then they go in the pocket just like this, and it looks a little weird, right? Like it doesn't quite look like it's meant to go into a pocket because it's a different shape. It's like a little teardrop shape, right? And then they get it out. They open it up. It's beautiful on one side, and then they journal on the inside. Could you have stamped something on the inside? Yes, you sure could. I chose not to, but they're just going to go in pockets just like that. And so it's a simple, quick little make. We made 4 in 16 minutes with me chit-chatting a whole big bunch while I was fussy cutting. And so that's the two little heart ones. That's the two regular ones. They're paper doily journaling cards. Very simple idea. If you don't have any paper doilies, I know the dollar store usually has a pack of them. Amazon has a pack. I can link a couple packs below from Amazon that are very inexpensive, but easy to pick up, also like vintage ones at a garage sale or the thrift store or whatever. And they do make really cute little journal cards. So I hope you guys give it a try. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys later for the live sale. Bye guys.